Okay, in this research, we'll take a look at some experiments on people's perceptions of legitimacy. In particular, we'll focus on a concept psychologists call tokenism. And this is research by Wright, and he defines tokenism as an intergroup context in which the boundaries between the advantaged and disadvantaged groups are not entirely closed, but where there are severe restrictions on access to advantaged positions on the basis of group membership. Here we have a cartoon version of what's going on here. So this will be the disadvantaged group in society. Now, Tim Wise was just giving us an example with the election of Barack Obama in 2008. The fact that we have a black president led some to suggest that we are post-racial, and Tim Wise was suspicious of that. The success of one individual of a historically disadvantaged group does not indicate that the system itself is fair or legitimate. But let's consider this idea of one individual from a disadvantaged group having success. Well, when we see that, then we make judgments about the fairness of the system. So that's one element, that's one factor we consider when making a judgment about the fairness of the overall system. Now, the folks up here in the advantaged positions, of course, they're going to be likely to see the system as legitimate. The question for the researchers, for Wright and his colleagues, was what happens to the perceptions of the people down in the disadvantaged group when they see one member of their group succeed, right? So we have a token success. How's that going to change the perception, if at all, of the other members of the disadvantaged group? Are they going to see the system as legitimate because, after all, one of their own was able to make it? Or are they going to still see the system as rigged against them? Still perceive the system as illegitimate or unfair? In addition, what will it do with respect to their collective action? Are they going to band together and take action, or will the success of the token reduce solidarity between individuals of the disadvantaged group? So these are some of the issues that Wright and his colleagues wanted to study. Now, he asks us to consider three types of behavior, categories of behavior. So we should keep these in mind as we look at his later research. The first category is action versus inaction. So inaction, then you're not going to attempt to change the status quo. So you perceive the token success and you do nothing. Well, that would be inaction. But if the individuals are going to take action, then there are two other distinctions we can make. Will the action improve one's own condition or improve the group's condition? And will the action be normative or non-normative? So let's look at the individual normative actions. So you're improving your own condition in a normative way. That would be things like getting a second job, get more education, ask for a raise, etc. So if you see token success, a member of your group succeeding, individual normative would be like, okay, yeah, well, that person made it. Well, I got to work harder. I got to get more education. I got to ask for a raise, right? These would all be individual normative. Normative because they are acceptable behaviors in society. Individual non-normative actions, so not acceptable behaviors, would be criminal activity, sabotage a rival, cheat on your taxes or exam. So again, when you see this person succeed, are you going to attempt to sabotage others so that you can be the next one to go up? Or are you going to cheat in some way so that you can gain access to the privileged high-status position? And then for the collective, improving the group's condition, collective normative actions would be like political lobbying, voting, collective bargaining. So here we see, yes, a token has achieved success. Will that cause you to band together, the rest of the members of the disadvantaged group, and you maybe will start a union, or you're gonna protest in a civil way, right? Or you're gonna lobby for changes to the system. Collective non-normative would be illegal protests or civil disobedience or terrorism, right? So if you see the token success here, will that lead you to group together but to do illegal things or destructive things, violent things, terrorism, in order to address the system? Okay, so those are the categories of behavior that Wright and his colleagues will be sort of assessing. Now what they're going to do is set up an experimental context to study tokenism and the perceptions of legitimacy among members in the experiment. So here's the context. The position of disadvantaged group and the membership in it appear to result from decisions, discrimination by high status outgroup members, right? So that's the context, that you're going to have a group that's disadvantaged, and the fate of those members will be determined by high status outgroup members. So the subjects are told that they were participating in a study on decision-making skill, and that their initial performance determined the group assignments in which they would complete the study. They might be put into the high ability group with certain advantages, more challenging tasks, eligibility for lottery, and you get to judge the future membership of low status members. Or you might be put into a low ability group. In reality, all subjects were put into this low ability group, so they were assigned into the disadvantaged group, right? So they were told they were participating in a decision-making skill study, and that their performance, they might be assigned to the high ability group or the low ability group. They were all assigned to the low ability group. So they are sort of understanding that they are in the low status disadvantaged group. Okay, so they were told that their own performance was judged by high ability group members, right? So notice this assignment to this low ability group was made based on the judgments of others in the high status group. Okay, so now remember, all subjects were assigned to the low ability group, and that judgment was made by the high ability people, supposedly. So subjects completed the initial task, then they received feedback that they were rejected by the high ability judges, right? So they're going to be assigned to the low ability group, but here are one of 3 reasons why they were rejected. And so here's the manipulation, and now Wright wants to see whether these 3 reasons have a different effect on the behaviors of the people in the low status group. One reason, in what they call the open condition, subjects were told that they were assigned to the low ability group, that they had not reached the performance criteria, but that all who did so would be accepted, right? So in this condition of the experiment, everybody in this condition, the open condition, was told, well, the reason they were assigned into the low ability group is they just didn't score high enough. But had they scored higher on the initial test of their decision making, they would have been able to go to the high ability group. So this is called the open condition because it's just everybody is theoretically able to reach the high status group. There is no obstacle to reaching that, only performance, right? In the closed condition, the subjects were told that they had met the criterion, so they did well on the decision-making task, but they were rejected because of their faculty of study was not needed by the high status group. Now, by faculty of study, it would mean that, remember, these are like college students and so on, means that their particular major or their field of study was just not something valued by the high status, high ability group, right? So they passed the test in a sense, right? They scored high enough to meet the criterion for acceptance into the high ability group, but that for this reason of they didn't have the right faculty of study, right? Their career path or their field of expertise or their major was just not something that was of interest to the high ability group. Okay, so they called that the closed condition. Yes, they met the criterion, but they were rejected on other grounds. And then the tokenism condition. So the subjects in this condition were told that they had met the criterion, so they had passed the decision-making test, but rejected because the high status group was accepting only 2% of those qualified, right? So here we see that there is some accessibility of the low status group into the high status, 2%, but most of them are going to be rejected, right? This would be the tokenism condition. A fraction of individuals are accepted into the high status group. So we have the open condition, where everybody could have been accepted into the high status group, but just nobody scored well enough on the test. The closed condition, they all scored well enough on the test, except they were rejected just because of some other aspect about themselves. Their faculty of study was not needed. And the tokenism condition, they also scored well enough on the test, but they were rejected because the high status group was only accepting 2% of qualified members. So then Wright had the subjects rate their endorsement of various actions. Right? Those actions we talked about before: individual normative, individual non-normative, collective normative, collective non-normative types of behaviors. And they took a survey assessing perceptions of justice and emotional reactions to their personal treatment and that of the group. So notice again what the experiment is you're setting up a situation where subjects are assigned to the low status group, the disadvantaged group, and then they are given 3 different reasons for that assignment: the open condition, closed condition, the token condition. And then what the researchers are asking is how they perceive the system by measuring their endorsement of various actions. Will it be normative? Will it be non-normative? Will it be collective? Will it be individual? And looking at their perceptions of justice and their emotional reactions. In the next part, we'll take a look at the results.